Hello, we are discussing about GATE 2015 ECE paper. Find the phase margin of the system G of S, which is given as 10 by S into S plus 10. So it's a general question. Where is phase margin of any system can be defined as 180 degrees plus pi. 180 degrees plus pi. 180 degrees plus pi, where pi is equal to pi is nothing but phase angle. Pi is phase angle of G of S at gain crossover frequency. So G of S at gain crossover frequency, that is omega G or omega Gs also, it can Gc, it is also specified. So we must write S in terms of J omega first, then you are substituting omega as omega G. Okay. And what is meant by gain crossover frequency? Gain crossover frequency, omega G, is the frequency at which magnitude of G of S, that is G of J omega magnitude, is going to be equal to 1. So whenever you are equating magnitude of G of J omega to 1, that frequency is going to be called as gain crossover frequency. First find that gain crossover frequency, then find the phase angle at that frequency. That is going to be given a value of pi. That pi, if you substitute in this equation 180 plus pi, the remaining is going to be called as phase angle, phase margin. So first step is we need to calculate step 1. Step 1, calculate omega G. Step 2, calculate pi. And step 3, calculate phase margin. So omega G first we will calculate. Calculation of omega G. So first we will write it as G of J omega. So S is replacing with J omega, so it will be equal to J omega times of J omega plus 10. And next, magnitude of G of J omega is equal to, magnitude of G of J omega is 10 divided by omega times of square root of omega square plus 100. And this magnitude, if you are equating to 1, that frequency is called as gain crossover frequency, say it as WG, omega G. So now we are going to calculate omega G from this equation. So this is going to be yielding, take square root on both sides, then otherwise you can take this denominator this side. So that will be equal to 10 times of omega G times of square root of omega G square plus 100. And take square on both sides. Then it will be equal to 100 is equal to omega G square into omega G square plus 100. So from this one we can write it as omega G to the power of 4 plus 100 omega G square minus 100 is equal to 0. This plus 100, if you are taking this side, it will become minus 100. Now let x is equal to omega G square. Then this equation is turning to x square plus 100x minus 100 is equal to 0. Where x can be calculated by using standard ax square plus bx plus c. So by that time roots can be written as minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. So we are going in that way. Minus b is 100. Minus b plus or minus square root of b square 100 square minus 4ac. 4a means 1, c is minus 100. So minus into minus, it will become plus into 400 divided by 2a. A is 1, so that 2a is nothing but 2 itself. So this is minus 100 plus or minus under root of 10,400 divided by 2. So x will be equal to, now this will be equal to, x is equal to minus 100 plus or minus 101 101.98. Square root of 10,400 will be equal to 101.98 divided by 2. So x is nothing but omega g square. Omega g, if it is positive or negative, square means always it is positive. So you must consider only positive, and that too frequency has to be always positive. Okay, remember that one. Omega g is always positive. Omega is always positive, not only omega g. Frequency is always positive. If you are writing the polar plot or Nyquist plot, always we are considering omega is equal to 0 to infinity only while going for the polar plots. Okay, next we are changing the pi value but not the omega value. Omega g is equal to positive, so we will consider only positive sign. When do you get positive sign? If you are taking this plus 101.98, so this can be written as plus 101.98 minus 100. So this will be equal to 1.98 by 2, which is 0.99. That is equal to omega g square. So take square root on both sides. So this will be equal to, again plus or minus, it will be equal to plus or minus 1. Okay, and out of this one, since omega g is positive, you must consider omega g is equal to plus 1 only. So this is omega g is plus 1 radians per second. Okay, so now we are going to calculate step 2. Step 2 is we are calculating phase pi. Pi is defined as phase of g omega at omega is equal to omega g. Okay, so first we will write it as pi of angle of g omega can be written as 10 by s into s plus 10. The equation is 10 by s into s plus 10. So this is 10 by j omega into j omega plus 10. This plus 10 is going to be a constant. It doesn't contribute any angle. It is independent of omega, so we don't consider that one. 1 by s can be written as minus tan inverse omega because s is j omega. Okay, so you can write it as 10 by j omega times of j omega plus 10. So for this j omega there is no real part, so this will be equal to omega by 0 minus tan inverse omega by 0 minus tan inverse omega by 10. You can write minus tan inverse omega by 0 is infinite, so this will be equal to minus 90. And next minus tan inverse omega is going to be replacing with omega g now, divided by 10. So angle of g omega at omega is equal to omega g, which can be written as pi, that is equal to minus 90 minus tan inverse of omega g value is 1 by 10. So this will be minus 90 minus tan inverse of 0.1. Tan inverse of 0.1. So this will be minus 90 minus 5.71. So this will be minus 95.71 pi value. Now phase margin, third step, phase margin is 180 plus pi. 180 plus is plus of minus, so you can write it as minus 95.71. It will be equal to 84.29 degrees. So phase margin of g of s is equal to 10 by s into s plus 10 is equal to 84.29 degrees. This is the right answer for the given question. Thank you.